going to share with you 3 ideas. The first idea, the first idea is that the definition of young in Zimbabwe is rigged against young people. So I'm 32 years old. If I told you I'm unmarried, would you say, oh, you're really young? You've got your whole life ahead of you. If I tell you I don't have children, would you say, oh no, the world is your oyster, take your time? However, if within the same breath I say to you, I'm running for a post in Parliament, you quickly say, oh no, Fadzayi, you've got your whole life ahead of you. Hold on, I can go into mobilization. I want to know in social media. The definition of young is rigged against young people in Zimbabwe. And you know what's fascinating about this panel, because I've been doing a lot of community outreach, reaching out into the community, hearing what people think, you'd actually find that there's no young person here on your panel today. Dr. Mnyeza, I'm sorry, you're not young. Jealousy Mawarire, you're not young. Ruby, even you are not young.
She's 20.
Now, adults in Zimbabwe start at the age of 18. That's young. In fact, 10 is young, but 18 is now a young adult. 18 to 25. Do we have a 25-year-old? Okay, no, I mean on the panel. Those are the young people we'd like to see. Okay, we certainly don't have a teenager, 18, 19. Okay, then you've got another segment. You've got your 25 to 30-year-olds. Then after that, you've got your 30 to 40-year-olds, but then you're not young. Okay, if a lawyer looks for a job at 30, you're not a young lawyer going into a firm. You're pretty, mid-career in your profession. So because we've got a president that's 94, our notion of age in Zimbabwe is extremely distorted. And all of that works against us. Because I'm thinking, gosh, I'm 32. Munumkuru, munane 94 years. A grown-up or an old person is 94. So we need to bear that in mind for reasons that I'm going to talk about just now. But while I'm on that thought, they always say to us, young people are the leaders of tomorrow. And you know what they say about tomorrow? It never comes. The solution to this is something I'm going to talk about. The second idea that I'd like to share with you is that there is an urgent need for young people to jump in. Now, I'll talk about the politics last, because I don't want to be accused of campaigning. If you look at the Zimbabwe National Chamber of Commerce, who's the head of it? And to be my young professionals, aren't you there? Huh? How old is she? Vechidiki Muriki, nowhere to be found, okay? If you look at the Law Society president, again, are we talking about a young person? If we talk of the Health Professions Authority, all of your professional organization, Institute of Real Estate, all those professional institutions, young people are nowhere to be found. So before we even go to the politics, professionally, there seems to be no space for us whatsoever, which is something we need to work on. And if we are waiting for the head of the Zimbabwe National Chamber of Commerce or the president of the Law Society to hand it to you on the plate, here, young people, take it over. Guess what? You're going to retire as a young person. Because in Zimbabwe, 50, 60, you're still young. Now, so what do we need to do then? Which is the last idea. We need to solve this problem. We need to not only reclaim the space, but we need to create our own spaces. I don't see why we are saddled only with the Zimbabwe National Chamber of Commerce. We can set up a new one. What's stopping that? And please, for the love of God, don't call it Young People's National Chamber of Commerce. Let's not call it young. Let's just call it the new, whatever of commerce. Because the minute you say young, you know what happens? As a matter of psychology, when you tell people you're young in Zimbabwe, they'll be like, you've got your whole life ahead of you. You've got a long way to go to Gomira Muchazo graduator. You're going to get there eventually, and that's not what we want. If the foremost entrepreneurs in Zimbabwe so happen to be between 25 and 35, they must set up their own institution and lead it. As the Zimbabwean entrepreneurs, age has nothing to do with it. If you've got leading young lawyers in a professional setting, set up your own institution. Don't call it young lawyers. Call it the leading lawyers. You're dynamic. You're the people who went to London, who worked in The Hague. You're the people who go to Joburg. You're the people who are advising on big deals anyway. Set it up. Do it. Okay? And if you're even in the church, you see, the minute you say, no, Trive youth, already you're not part of the elders. Okay? So let's be careful about how we use that word young, because most times when it's used in Zimbabwe, it's used in a way that's rigged against us. Even SAPES, great institution. But are you telling me with all the minds here, people who are between 18 and 35 can't set up their own think tank? We can and we should not call it young people SAPES. We should call it the leading think tank in Zimbabwe. So we really need to be the change we wish to see in Zimbabwe. More professionalism, more innovation. We need to facelift the face of professionalism in our various spheres in Zimbabwe. Thank you.